Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the hidden struggles behind two of the most deeply misunderstood experiences out there, anxiety and depression. You know, society has really trained us to picture these super specific, dramatic scenarios when we hear those words. But the psychological data we're looking at today, it reveals a totally different reality for millions of us. So if you've ever felt like what's going on inside your head doesn't quite match up with those classic textbook definitions, well, you're definitely going to want to stick around for this.
To figure out if what you're dealing with is just everyday stress or maybe something a bit deeper, our source material poses some really telling questions. First up, do you feel totally exhausted even when you haven't actually done anything? And to be clear, we aren't talking about physical exertion here. This is about waking up and already feeling drained, like you're carrying around this heavy mental weight that just zaps your energy before you've even stepped out the front door. It's this profound, almost unearned exhaustion. Or how about this one? Do you ever cancel plans that you were genuinely excited about and then just feel overwhelmingly guilty about it for the rest of the day? Like you really wanted to go, you fully intended to go, but the moment actually arrives and bam, an invisible wall just goes up. That cycle of avoidance kicks right in and it's instantly followed by this heavy dose of guilt that honestly makes you feel even worse than if you had just forced yourself out the door.
And here's the final hook question. Do you ever desperately want to explain how you feel, but the second someone actually asks, your brain just goes totally blank? You just end up muttering, "Yeah, I don't know." In those moments when the words completely fail you, it's incredibly easy to start wondering, am I just overreacting to everything? Well, the source material assures us, no, you are absolutely not overreacting. The real issue is just that these struggles rarely look the way people expect them to.
Which brings us to a foundational truth for this entire explainer: it's not always crying. Sometimes it's literally just functioning. Mental health struggles rarely look like those dramatic movie scenes where someone's having a highly visible panic attack or staring blankly at the ceiling for weeks on end. Actually, sometimes it just looks like you going to work, replying to messages, and smiling on cue. You're functioning on the outside, sure, but on the inside, your brain is running a full marathon, constantly telling you that you aren't doing enough. It just becomes your normal, this constant background noise of self-doubt and emotional exhaustion.
Let's break down what this hidden struggle actually looks like day to day. The research identifies 4 common personas, starting with the high-functioning person. Now, this person gets things done. They're hitting deadlines, and to the rest of the world, they look like they've got their life perfectly together. But the internal reality is that every single task feels like dragging a massive boulder up a steep hill. And the kicker? When they finally try to take a break, resting doesn't even feel like rest. It just feels like guilt. All that looking put together is really just masking this immense, draining internal effort.
Then we've got our second persona, the numb person. And this isn't about being overwhelmingly sad. It's really about this strange absence of feeling. You aren't sad, but you definitely aren't happy either. Things that used to be incredibly exciting now just feel like absolutely nothing. You're not crying, you're literally just existing. I love how the source perfectly describes this. It's like your emotions are constantly buffering, just spinning and unable to fully load and connect with the world around you.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the overthinker captures the totally relentless nature of the mind. If you fall into this category, you know you replay everyday conversations on a loop. You meticulously analyze people's tone of voice. Someone replies to your text with a simple "okay" instead of an "okay" with an exclamation point, and suddenly your brain is writing a full-blown psychological thriller about how they secretly hate you. Your brain is essentially creating these elaborate worst-case scenarios out of absolutely nothing.
Finally, we have the deal-with-it-later person. This right here is the ultimate avoidance strategy. You just push those negative feelings way, way down. You distract yourself with work, or endless scrolling, or just staying constantly busy. You probably tell yourself, hey, it's really not that bad. And honestly, pushing your emotions down works remarkably well, right up until the exact day that it doesn't. You bottle it all up until, inevitably, it becomes entirely too much and it just suddenly explodes.
Okay, so those are the internal realities, but navigating them is made so much harder by the outside world. As our source points out, this is exactly where things get tricky, because there's a ton of advice out there that sounds super helpful, but really isn't. We live in a society that is just packed with toxic positivity. You know the just think positive crowd, right? Look, if it were truly that easy, we'd all be instantly cured by sunset photos and motivational quotes on the internet.
Think about this comparison for a second, because it perfectly highlights how unhelpful this societal advice can be. We have the just be grateful people. Now, yes, obviously gratitude is a great practice,
But telling someone who's currently battling severe depression to just be grateful is literally like telling someone with a broken leg to just walk it off. I mean, is it technically possible for them to take a step? Maybe. But is it practically helpful for healing the core issue? Absolutely not.
And then, of course, there's this classic piece of terrible advice. Well, others have it worse. Sure, objectively speaking, that might be true somewhere in the world. But so the crucial point is to remember this. Pain isn't a competition. You don't get some gold medal at the end of your life for suffering silently just because someone else had a harder time. Invalidating your own genuine struggles because of someone else's situation doesn't magically make your pain disappear. It honestly just makes you feel more isolated.
To actually move past all that bad advice, we need to completely reframe how we view these conditions. Consider this. Anxiety is an overprotective security guard. And this brilliantly illustrates what modern psychology shows us, that the brain really just wants to protect you. Anxiety isn't some malicious virus trying to ruin your life. It's a biological defense mechanism trying to keep you safe. It's just way too intense. It's like you hired a security guard to stop intruders, but he's out there tackling everyone, including the poor mailman.
So, if anxiety is the overactive guard, how should we be viewing depression? Well, the source reframes it beautifully like this. Depression is your brain hitting a system shutdown. When your environment, your stress levels, or your emotions reach a point of complete overload, your brain literally steps in and pulls the plug. Less feeling, less energy, less everything. It's a protective shutdown mode because your internal system simply cannot process the sheer volume of what's happening to you. When we finally peel back the clinical labels, we start to see what the brain is actually reacting to under the surface. Underneath anxiety, you are almost always going to find fear, uncertainty, or just immense pressure. On the flip side, underneath depression, you'll frequently find profound exhaustion, a deep sense of loss, or unmet emotional needs. Let's be very clear. These are not personal failings. They are just your brain reacting to very specific emotional deficits in your life.
Because these conditions are deeply rooted in unmet needs and overactive protection mechanisms, just ignoring them, that never fixes them. The source material offers a really powerful pivot here. Stop fighting the feeling and start getting curious. Instead of waking up and angrily asking yourself, why am I like this? What is wrong with me? We have to shift the narrative. Start asking, okay, what is this feeling actually trying to tell me right now?
Let's move to the next part and see how this builds into an actual, actionable framework. The research outlines 3 very structured, accessible steps to kickstart the healing process. Step 1, like we just discussed, is to get curious. Really listen to the feeling to understand it. Step 2 is to dramatically lower the bar. And step 3 is simply to let just one person in. Let's zoom in a bit closer on what lowering the bar actually entails, because it's a real game changer. When you're in the thick of struggling, your brain is going to lie to you. It's going to tell you that you should be doing so much more. But honestly, sometimes simply getting out of bed is a massive win. Replying to that one single text message, that's the win. Taking a shower is the win. Progress during deep anxiety and depression doesn't always look impressive or flashy on the outside. It's quiet. But I promise you, and the data totally backs this up, these quiet victories absolutely count as major, real progress. As we near the end of our explainer today, I really want you to anchor on this one truth. At the end of the day, what you're dealing with might not be obvious to anybody else. Heck, sometimes you might not even fully understand it yourself, but that doesn't make it one bit less real. You are not too sensitive. You are absolutely not broken. And you are definitely not lazy. You are simply carrying a very heavy load, just like millions of other people out there who are also quietly pretending they're completely okay. So, we're going to wrap up with this incredibly profound prompt from the source material. Instead of focusing on what's wrong with you, try asking yourself this question: what has been weighing on me that I haven't allowed myself to feel? It can be a pretty scary question to ask for sure. But as the research shows, sometimes you've really got to name it to tame it. So take a moment today